Hey, I'm Acomi. So, this podcast that you're about to listen to it's an older one. We actually recorded this quite a while back, and we've kind of sat on it for a while because it's really not much of a funny one, which I'll just stop you right there. Oh, none of them are funny. Huh? Yeah, okay. But no, I wanted to talk about this topic with Turk as more as just an interesting thing. It's a curious fact known by few, and I think it's a very interesting little chapter out of the history of the internet, basically. And you'll notice throughout this episode that, like a lot of the stupider things from the internet, I'm really into it. Turk, not so much. That's kind of par for the course with us, but we did think it was, worth posting. But that said, we didn't set out to riff on this a bunch, we didn't set out to make a bunch of jokes out of it, and we didn't set this episode up to be a funny episode. It's really just, here's something you might not have known before, and we just discuss that. So it is more informative than anything. So just wanted to curb your expectations going into it, that look at this as more of an informative thing and less of a humorous thing. But with that said, hope you guys do find this interesting, and hope you enjoy. We will catch you guys later.
Well, our moms think we're funny.
Hello, everybody. I'm Acomi.
Hey everyone, this is Turk182.
Welcome to yet another episode of Our Moms Think We're Funny. I almost said Our Moms Think We're Racists, and then I realized that wasn't the title of the podcast.
That doesn't apply to all of us.
My mom thinks I'm a racist.
Thinks, knows, whatever.
Mama done raised a racist. So, I wanted to talk about something kind of weird that I stumbled across the other day, and it's just one of those random-ass BuzzFeed articles that popped up on my Facebook timeline, and no, it wasn't BuzzFeed, Ranker. It was a Ranker article, sorry. Would certainly hate to give credence to BuzzFeed where they do not warrant it.
So, let me stop you right there. How do you feel about BuzzFeed?
Not really a big fan because it's so clickbaity.
Okay. It's exactly how I feel, too.
Yeah, I mean, And, I mean, I'm not a fan of clickbait. It's like, let your stuff stand on its own merits, I mean, that's what we try to do. Which is why we have the following the size that we do. But, But yeah, so I almost passed by it, and then the content of the headline was so bizarre to me that it was like, I kind of feel like I need to check this out. And when I first read it, and I've kind of explained this to you, Turk, when I first read it, it was like, this is so damn bizarre. Why is anybody taking it seriously?
Right.
And it's, it was kind of a very similar reaction to a lot of what I saw with Christian, where it was like, why does he not just say, yeah, no, Sonichu doesn't do that, or whatever? Or, kind of like the Bob and Bev karaoke corner, where it's like, I feel like I'm being punked. I feel like these people know exactly what kind of content they're doing, and I just feel like I'm being punked. But then the further you get into it, the more you realize, no, everybody here is very, very serious. And so I wanted to sort of discuss it with you, let you know what happened historically, let you know, the historical impact that this has had on us that none of us even really knew about, and sort of get your thoughts on it as well as express some of my own thoughts on it, okay?
Alright, I'm here.
Okay, so, This is about an article called A Rape in Cyberspace. I want to see if I can pull up the full title here. Because this is not the original article that I had pulled up. So you hear this, A Rape in Cyberspace, and you're like, well, what the hell,
I'm thinking something VR related.
Well, no, because this was actually something that took place in 1993. So we're talking the extreme early days of the internet. Here we go. Julian Dibbell. He is the guy who wrote the original article.
Oh, so A Rape in Cyberspace article was written by a guy named Diddle?
Dibble.
Oh, Dibble. Okay.
Yes.
Because that's a little bit better. Yeah, go on, please.
Okay, shit, that also does not have the full title. Damn it, Internet, come on! Okay, here we go. Thank you, Wikipedia. I love you guys. I'm not going to donate money to you, so stop asking.
I donate, so I'll just say it's from both those.
Oh, look at me. My name's Turk182. I value free speech. Woo!
I value my free speech. When I have something to say, I think it's really important. When someone else has something to say, I'm like, shut the hell up.
Okay, so here's the full title. A rape in
Get snippy, baby.
A rape in cyberspace, or how an evil clown, a Haitian trickster spirit, 2 wizards, and a cast of dozens turned a database into a society. So this was a 1993 article by Julian Dibbell. He republished it in Chapter 1 of his book, My Tiny Life, from 1998, where he talks about being in these online communities and stuff. So
before you continue, can you do me one small favor?
Sure.
Can you read the part in the title where it says everybody who's involved?
Everybody who's involved?
Yes.
That whole subtitle again?
No, not the whole subtitle, just the part where it says everyone who's involved.
An evil clown.
Yes.
A Haitian trickster spirit.
Okay.
2 wizards, and a cast of dozens.
That sounds like that episode of like Darwin when she was threatening him is like, you need to back off. I'm gonna get, an evil clown, 2 Haitian spirit, 2 wizards, and a box of cornflakes. But like, what?
Ooh. So, now in the early 90s, and this was really before I had access to the internet myself. I didn't really have a computer when I was a kid until late 90s, 1999, 2000, something like that. Yeah, I think it was 1999 that we first got a computer in the family household. So, I kind of missed this early chat room culture. But back in the day, there were internet chat rooms, of course. And there were also very, very crude early forms of MMOs. And I never knew about this until I stumbled across this article, right? But basically, they were text-based adventure MMOs. So, I'm a big fan of text-based adventures. We've talked about that very often. I talk about it on the show a lot. And the nature of text-based adventures from the day. You power it on and it's like, oh, you're standing in a room. To your east, there is a bookshelf.
Yeah, it's like Zork and stuff like that.
Yeah, Zork. And you get the Zork mids and shit.
So yeah, I know that stuff.
Yeah. So basically, in these chat rooms, there were these early forms of MMOs that were running off of text-based adventure kind of things. So you would create a character, you'd type up their description, and you would go into these worlds, and it'd be like, oh yeah, you're standing in a mansion. You can go to the living room in the north, you can go to the kitchen in the east, whatever. And if anybody types the look command at your character, then it will give them the description that you filled out for the character. It says, let's say that I make Sonashu as a character, right? And it'll say, standing before you, you see a yellow hedgehog with long ears and a lightning bolt tail, and he has electric cheeks and blah 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 blah, and he radiates sexuality, whatever. So. There were just numerous online communities like this back in the day. They were called MUDs, multi-universe dimensions, which I think is kind of a misnomer, but whatever. And so I've got this article here. I'm not going to read the article because it kind of feels plagiaristic to try to read through an entire article. But, which, I know I've kind of done, sort of going down, the life of Christian and stuff. I never actually read beat for beat an article, but you get the idea. I really just want to sort of go through the main beats with this and talk about the impact that it had. So, I think I probably will, wind up reading the opening paragraph to this, but, This is a very interesting thing to me. Because you see that this is titled, A Rape in Cyberspace. And as you go throughout it, everybody involved will be very quick to say, this is clearly not the same thing as an actual physical rape. It's very obviously not, nobody would dare to say that. And some of the people involved with this were actually victims of real life physical sexual assault, not just chat room stuff. But everybody is very clear and explicit in saying this was definitely a violation. This was definitely, this was definitely a problem. I'm still trying to sort of come to peace with that and still trying to come to grips with that, but I am going to sort of go over the events here. Like I said, I'll probably read this opening paragraph, and I just want to go over like the main beats of what happened, how it affected everybody involved, and sort of how it affects us today. So, looks like Turk had to step away from the mic for just a minute, so I'm going to take a brief pause here, and as soon as he's back, I'll get started on going through all that. But it was definitely a very bizarre thing to read, but it wound up giving me a lot of like reason to pause and think and to really and really wonder like how would that have affected me if I had been there. So buckle up. I think you're in for a bit of a wild ride for sure. All right, so Turk is back, ladies and gentlemen. So I just explained to him I'm going to read this opening paragraph, and I've kind of explained all this is taking place in a text-based adventure. So there's no graphics, there's no pictures, there's no sprites. It's nothing of what, if you were born after what, Turk, 95, 96? I mean, I'm not sure what would be a fair age to generalize here. Okay. But it's not going to be what you think of when you think of an online chat room or when you think of an MMO. This is all text-based stuff. So, like, what's happening here?
So it's almost like a big forum.
Yeah, basically. But it's like a live forum.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest descriptor I can think of is a chat room, but it's a chat room in a text-based adventure.
Yeah. So,
like, let's say I'm playing as Sonichu, because that was the example I gave when I was explaining this to the viewers while you stepped away. If I say my character is Sonichu, right, and you're playing as whatever you would want to play as.
Darkheart, was it?
Oh, Darklight Sugarheart.
Darklight Sugarheart, yeah.
Oh, infringing on my intellectual property, I see. So, yeah,
because it's okay for you to do it to other people. Boy, you kind of sound like somebody from this article.
So like, let's say you type in the look command, right? Because that's a text-based adventure thing, look. Right. And so you say, look at Sonichu, and it'll say, oh yeah, you see a yellow hedgehog with long ears and a lightning bolt tail, and he radiates sexuality. And
he radiates sex. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm straight, but
it's just something about
Sonichu's cum, man. But yeah, so I mean, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about here. Is if I say if I type in dance, then it'll say, everybody.
Sorry.
Everybody sees Sonichu dance, whatever, stuff like that. So I'm going to explain, I'm going to read this opening thing, and then we're just going to kind of go over the beats here. They say he raped them that night. They say he did it with a cunning little doll, fashioned in their image and imbued with the power to make them do whatever he desired. They say that by manipulating the doll, he forced them to have sex with him and with each other and to do horrible, brutal things to their own bodies. And though I wasn't there that night, I think I can assure you that what they say is true, because it all happened right in the living room, right there amid the well-stocked bookcases and the sofas and the fireplace of a house I came later to think of as my second home. So
explain the living room to me.
So the living room. So this virtual world, this MUD, if you will, the multi-universe dimension.
Thank you, because I was going to ask what MUD meant.
This was developed by a Xerox employee, which I was once a Xerox employee, so I thought this was kind of a very interesting thing from that perspective, because it's like, oh, I'm a little invested here. Just a little. I'm not currently working for Xerox, but I have a good relationship with the company. I like Xerox. So this virtual world was created by a Xerox employee who used the Xerox computer as a server and created this text-based virtual world. The world is called LambdaMOO, LambdaMOO. And MOO is a type of multi-universe dimension, and I can't remember what it stands for, but it's just like a sub version of that, basically. The living room was the central hub of LambdaMOO. LambdaMOO was a giant mansion that all these characters could live in, and like once you became a member there, you would pick which room you wanted to live in. The guy who wrote this article was playing as a character named Dr. Bombay, which is a character from some old-timey sitcom, I don't know.
Oh, no, Dr. Bombay. Bewitched.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Dr. Bombay was a character on Bewitched.
Samantha Stevens' outlandish cousin, yes, okay. Or sometimes he would masquerade as a dolphin, you know. And I know that, like, listening to this, you're going to be thinking, I thought Acomi hated DeviantArt shit, and this is really, really close to that. But
you know, sometimes the things that we say we hate, we really love with a passion. We just don't want other people to know that.
Okay, Turk, you know what? I've had about enough of your mouth.
Kind of like when you used to like, you know, like punch to the girl in school that you really liked and everything. Yeah, keep punching that DeviantArt girl.
Oh, damn, she's been hitting on me this whole time? Okay, so, but yeah, so, yeah, you log into LambdaMOO and it says, oh, you're in this big, beautiful mansion, and it would spawn you in a random room. And so, like, you could spawn in a broom closet, you could spawn in the kitchen, and you just, like, walk from room to room. So it's like, oh, I want to go to the living room, so I'll type go east. Boom, I'm in the living room. And then I can interact with any other characters in there. What was interesting about this from, like, a text-based adventure / chat room standpoint is that this was one of the first versions of this that if a character wasn't in the same room as you, you couldn't interact with them. So, like, if I'm in the living room and you're in the bedroom upstairs, I would have to make my character go to the bedroom upstairs to talk to you.
Now, I do wanna ask you to, because I think we may have skipped over this part just then. So I do want to kind of discuss this part again, which is the guy that's the guy that wrote this article, right?
Yeah.
Explain where he was living in this house.
His character, Dr. Bombay, lived inside of the TV set, in a room, in the Red Hotel, on the Monopoly board in the living room. So it's basically hub within hub within hub within hub. But what's interesting about that is that it shows just how expansive they made this little text-based world. I mean, there was basically, like, no cap on how many people could be there, you know? But yeah, so basically what happened is that this guy, Julian Dibbell, Dr. Bombay, if you will, he kind of got involved with this because he heard the ripples of what all happened with this alleged cyberspace rape. And he was like, this is really interesting from a legal perspective. And so he started getting involved, and his reaction initially was what mine is right now, which is, how are you taking this seriously?
Right.
Because, you know, we've played D&D, and, you know, if I say, oh, my character grabs your character's dick, you know, the easiest response is to say, no, he doesn't. And that's as far as it goes for us, you know?
Right.
And if I'm insistent, then it's like, okay, well, roll for initiative. You're free to try to make an unarmed strike, but you're gonna wind up losing a hand because I'm a fucking rogue. You know, I mean, it's that kind of thing. So, you know, that was my initial reaction upon reading this, is, why can't you just say, no, that doesn't happen? And that's what his initial reaction was. But as he got involved with it and he started interviewing the people, he was like, wow, I actually feel their pain. I understand why they feel violated in this. So,
I'm still not there yet, but, you know.
and I understand, and I'm not completely there either, to be honest. I can sort of see both sides of the argument as far as that goes. But, like, you know, I mean, and from what I hear, some of the people involved here just had tears streaming down their faces as they're interviewing this guy. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that Dr. Bangle, the person who initiated these assaults, bastard, you know? He's a real prick. He ruined everybody's good time. If everybody's hanging out and just having a good time and he spoils the party, then yeah, he sucks. And he should have had his account destroyed. I get that. But should he be hailed as a criminal? Should this be considered a cybercrime? I really don't think so. So,
I would say he definitely harassed these people.
This is harassment,
but not in a way that I think a criminal way. He was just being an annoying ass. I mean, everybody has to deal with an annoying ass in some fashion in their life, and you can't always do anything about it except for just be like, that guy's an annoying asshole, or that woman's an annoying asshole, and it's like, you know.
And all that was definitely covered in the aftermath of this. That was all definitely discussed, because this is basically cyberbullying. That's what I would categorize it as.
Yeah, I definitely see.
It's sexual harassment and cyberbullying, for sure. but can you really call that a rape? And I already said during the introduction while you were gone, everybody involved here was very quick to say this is not the same thing as a physical rape. There were sexual assault survivors involved in this who were like, yes, I have been physically raped. This is not the same thing, but he still crossed a line. So we're going to talk about the attack here. We're going to talk about the attacker, or the attacker's character. So the attacker was a character named Mr. Bungle. He was named after the band, which we've talked about. You know a bit more about the band than I do.
What I know about the band, about the band Mr. Bungle, is I believe they were on tour with they were on the Lollapalooza tour with Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they got into some kind of a fight, and I forget, you'd have to Google it to get the whole gist. But if I remember correctly, they didn't like each other. Like the Chili Peppers had a problem with them, and it stemmed from like something that happened during like one of the performances or whatever. But yeah,
interesting. So I'm going to describe this character. I want to see if I can find the actual description. This happened on a Monday night in March, if that helps. Now, here we go. Okay, so Mr. Bungle, the character, not the band, if you were to look at his description, he is a fat oleaginous. Not really familiar with that word. I'm going to assume that means fat, gelatinous, kind of fat. Bisquick-faced clown.
Wow, Bisquick-faced clown.
Yeah, right? Dressed in a cum-stained harlequin garb, and girdled with a mistletoe and hemlock belt, whose buckle bore the quaint inscription, "Kiss me under this, bitch."
Okay, so just to start off with, someone who creates a character like that is not someone that is asking to play nice with people.
Yeah, clearly. It's like he's obviously got some questionable interests, if you will.
He's like Shia LaBeouf. He's looking for trouble.
Hey man, I'm not looking for no trouble.
Like, what are you looking for? Me? Looking for trouble. So
now this guy was a long-time user. Now it's an important thing. According to the people involved, it was an important thing. A rookie would very often just assume, oh, because I'm playing a fictional character, there are no consequences to my action. So if you log into LambdaMOO and you see a guy just making a total ass of himself and like setting fire to shit and stuff like that, then everybody would go, oh, it's a rookie. He doesn't get it. And eventually, if he spends enough time doing this, he'll understand that you're not just playing a fictional character, you're playing an avatar of yourself. And you need to conduct yourself better.
Right.
It's just like unspoken etiquette of these multi-user dimensions. So this guy was actually kind of a long-term user. He wasn't like the longest-term user. He wasn't there from like the foundation of it like a lot of the people were, but he'd been there long enough for nobody to really think of him as a noob. But then the attack just gets started. Now, I explained to you upstairs earlier today that for the way this stuff to work, it kind of requires cooperation on both parts, right? So if I say that my character tries to make your character dance, that's not going to happen. I can't say what your character does, right?
Right.
So if I say Turk182 dances or Dark Lake Sugarheart dances, then it's not going to do anything. It's not going to let me do that because I can't control your character. Now, I can say that, Sonichu does something to Dark Lake Sugarheart, but then it's up to you to either reciprocate or retaliate.
Right.
So, Mr. Bungle starts doing some sexual-natured things to some of the people involved. And, most often, what would happen is that people can, They can gag the person saying offensive things, and that means that, like, they're silenced. They can't say anything to you anymore, and that's usually how, like, that's usually the way these cases were handled. But then this...
I wish they would chosen a different word for that.
It might not...
For silencing them. Because if it came up to me and it's like, Mr. Bungle wants to suck your cock, and I type in gag, right? It may not be that I want you to shut up.
It might not be...
I'm just being a dick. Gag.
No, it might not be gag. It might be like muffle or mute or something like that. I can't really remember. But yeah, so... Turns out the guy, or as it later was discovered, the guys playing as Mr. Bungle had a hacking program called Voodoo Doll.
Oh, so we're talking about there's more than one.
This turned out to be a sorority, a fraternity group in New York University, who all logged on to a computer in the common room, and they were all shouting suggestions to each other as the guy behind the keyboard was typing this stuff.
And now, see, that makes this even worse, because if it's one person being an asshole, that's one thing. But if it's like a whole group of people just being complete dicks for no reason, like, hey, we're a bunch of fraternity guys, we don't have anything else to do because we can't get enough chicks to drink and, pass out so we can fuck them, then let's go and just ruin these people's day.
Yeah.
No, that's some bullshit.
Oh, it was a total dick move. Total dick move.
Fucking asshole frats.
So,
and yes, I could have joined if I wanted to.
So, don't text me on a recording. Okay, so... Which I probably jumped the gun on explaining who was behind this, but it's not super important to the issue, to the core of the issue. But basically what the Voodoo Doll program allows you to do in a multi-user dimension is it lets you ascribe actions to other people's characters. So whereas typically, if I say, Dark Like Sugar Heart Dances, it won't let me do that. If I have a Voodoo Doll program, I can do that. So now you, even though you're playing Dark Like Sugar Heart and only you can dictate your actions, suddenly you're going to see flash across your screen, Dark Like Sugar Heart Dances.
Okay, and that fits with the whole, Voodoo Doll.
Yeah, the Voodoo Doll is a brilliant name for it. So now, suddenly people see flashing across their screens, your character sucks Mr. Bungle's dick, or your character anally violates herself, and all kinds of stuff, and it's happening to multiple people throughout there. So, of course, one character was the Haitian Trickster Spirit that came up in the title. That was Exu, a Haitian Trickster Spirit of indeterminate gender. So he basically just has his character rape the crap out of the Haitian Trickster Spirit. Just multiple things. Then he starts doing bodily harm to other people's characters, which shouldn't be possible in this, but the Voodoo Doll allowed a workaround. He made one character shove a knife up her ass. He made one character eat its pubic hair. He just all kinds of shit. So finally...
You'd have to have a lot of something to wash that down. I can't imagine that would just,
It's gross as fuck, man. It's just super gross. Okay. Really gross.
So as you're telling me this, and I'm listening to it, right? I'm envisioning this, in the sense of some kind of a visual.
Yeah.
But then I'm reminding myself, wait a minute, this is all text based, so you're not really seeing anything. So he's just saying this happened, and you're like, but you're just saying it's not like the never-ending story.
Yeah.
It's just words on the screen that said so and so did this to himself. I'm like, but no, they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And see, that's the same shit that I struggled with the first time I read this. Is that you're ascribing visuals to it, but it was just a text-based adventure. That's the same thing that happened to me.
And because you're actually in control of your character, if someone else hacked it and said you did this, right? Mm-hmm. Then I'd be like, no. I mean, just like now, if someone hacks and sends an email, right, to you with some spam or whatever, I'd be like, you sent me that to me. It's like, I didn't mean to do that. It's like, well, they'll be like, no, I didn't. I got hacked. I never actually sent that.
It was my doppelganger.
Right. And so, and I'm not trying to say these people don't have a right to be upset, but I'm like, when I stop and think about it, I'm like, well, yeah, this is just words on a screen that I didn't do that, so you can type whatever you want, but I know that that's not what I actually did.
Yeah, and that was my initial thought. But to be fair, I also didn't spend all this time in the chat room, I mean, these people are spending hours a day in there speaking through this character.
So the other people in the chat room who are seeing these people just all of a sudden just go nuts and just start doing some crazy shit like they're possessed, did they know what was going on?
I think most of them deduced because Bungle was pretty much, laying claim to it. And, every time these things are described, it'll be, oh, Moondreamer shoves a knife up her ass. Mr. Bungle laughs hysterically. So everybody knew that he was the cause.
Gotcha.
And the players all, banded together, and they, locked him in a room, right? But there's no distance limits on a voodoo doll hack, apparently. So the characters are still doing this. Finally...
So when you say distance limit, and meaning when you say they're all still doing it, they're not active right now. It's not. There's still a thing that's they're really...
No, they're not doing it today. I mean, they still continued being affected by his control, which, as I explained earlier, you have to be in the same room as the person to interact with them.
Oh, but he wouldn't be in the same room, but he could still make them do this stuff.
Yeah, so they lock him in a bedroom, and he's still just using the voodoo doll on him, and they're like, "What the hell is going on here?" So finally, and what interests me reading this is that all this is happening in character,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if somebody were, trolling me and ruining my night, I would log off and walk away. But everybody's staying in character and trying to control the situation in character. So they lock him in a room. Their characters lock his character in a room. That's very interesting to me. That's how involved and invested these people were.
Now, wait, I have something else to do. So in character, when they're, in character, are they... So, let's say the Haitian trickster, right?
Yeah. Exu.
So, if Exu was being affected by this, but if it was another person that was like him, was he, being I cast a spell that locks you in your room, or something like that? Or was he hey, let's grab him and lock him in his room?
I'm glad you asked that, because finally what happened was an administrator got involved. Now, in the world of LambdaMOO, an administrator was called a wizard. And... only wizards could do certain things that affected certain characters, such as trapping them in one place, or deleting their account, which involved killing the character, or any number of these things. So, a wizard character named Iggy stands up, he pulls out a gun, a legendary gun. When he shoots the gun, it forms a magical cage that completely blocks off and entraps Mr. Bungle. Now, I don't know what exactly is happening from a technological standpoint, except that maybe it freezes him from actually being able to type anything, but he's not allowed to, use the voodoo doll at this point. His character account is trapped.
Okay, so when they shot him with a special gun, it did actually, disconnect him from everybody else. It cut the strings on his voodoo doll.
It cut the strings on his voodoo doll, but he was still allowed to talk, which is weird to me, which I'll get to that in a second. But so it's interesting to me that instead of a wizard just saying, hey, bitch, log off or I'm going to delete your account, it's I use this legendary gun to cast a spell. It's a magic cage. And obviously it works from a programming standpoint because the voodoo doll no longer works, but it's all still in character. It's so strange to me, and I'm not, condemning or judging the people, but it's just strange to me that it's okay, we're going to solve the problem, but I am the Wizard Iggy. I'm not Jeff the administrator. It's okay. So, he's trapped. Everything kind of calms down. Everybody's kind of reeling from, wow, this guy kind of took control of my character and sexually violated it. That was weird. And Mr. Bungle, still being able to talk, waits until somebody new logs in who hasn't seen what's gone on all night and says, help, they've trapped me in this box. Will you please let me out? This poor... well-meaning sap lets him out, and the whole fiasco starts again. He gets out, he starts raping everybody, starts making his character do horrible, violent things to him.
How did he get out?
Some guy unlocked the box.
So some... Wait. Because I think I'm not understanding here. An administrator shoots him with a special gun, right?
Yeah.
And traps him in a box.
Yep.
And that actually, stopped his hack. His voodoo hack.
Yeah, somehow. I have no idea how. I've read 4 articles on this and cannot find what the programming specifics are on this.
But then someone who is not an administrator types in, I unlocked the box, and that just unlocked it?
Yeah, isn't it weird?
No, that's fucking stupid.
It's stupid, but it's weird.
Because you shouldn't be able to do it. If that then just renders the administrator completely powerless.
To an extent, except the administrator could still have just deleted his account.
Look out, he's got a heaven gun. Why do we have those again?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And that became an issue of everybody saying, you know what? the wizards could have deleted this guy. That's a process called toading, which I'll talk about more, but like, long story short, toading is you turn that character into a toad, and it annihilates their stats. That's what happens in most MUD chat rooms. What happens in LambdaMOO, not only does it delete their stats, but it locks them out of their account. So he's not only turned into a toad, but his account is gone. So, that's like the short description of it. But basically, so they, for the next couple days, everybody's trying to really figure out, what the hell just went on here. And everybody was saying, yes, this wasn't a real crime, but, it did cross a line. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about. It was definitely cyberbullying, definitely sexual harassment. And so everybody started getting together and discussing, what do we do about this from here, right?
Right.
So what's interesting to me is that things almost immediately snowballed from just an internet chat room, just an MMO, to like a political upheaval.
Okay.
You started getting people of warring factions. You started getting people who believe different things politically about what should happen within the world of this game. So you had the anarchists, which, I mean, you know me, and they were saying, you know what happened sucked, but that's freedom of speech for you. You cannot say, I'm in favor of freedom of speech, and then say, oh, but you're not allowed to say offensive things, and you're not allowed to say hurtful things, and, oh, yeah, you wished me a happy birthday, that's nice, so that's okay. So they were coming at it from a pure, everything has to go because that's freedom.
Okay, well, hold on. But this wasn't freedom of speech because it's a text-based game. That's not considered speech.
Yep.
Now, if he was sitting there and just standing in the middle of the living room, up on the table and just like, typing out his manifesto and saying a bunch of shit they didn't like, that's one thing. But in this context, he actually took control of them because, and I'm saying it like this, I'm saying it from an actual user standpoint.
Yeah.
When he was saying this so-and-so did this, they couldn't say, no, I don't.
Yeah.
They were completely locked out of their character or whatever, or that username had been usurped by him.
Yep.
And so at that point, it's not a freedom of speech. You have digitally, like, hijacked them.
Oh, yeah. And what's amazing is that you're bringing up the same arguments that the people brought up against the anarchists. You're drawing the same conclusions that everybody else came to during this discussion, which is amazing to me because as soon as I started telling you about this, you were like, well, this sounds stupid. So it's like you're actually reaching the same conclusions that, like, everybody else did because their whole thing was, well, is a rape a violation of the body or is it a violation of the mind? Where does the mind end and the body begin?
It's both.
It's both, yeah. So it's like, so no, he didn't physically touch you, but he did affect your mind. He did do something to hurt you.
Well, no. So I'm gonna stop right there. As far as my point of view is, what I'm saying is that if you're saying that you should allow this kind of stuff because it's freedom of speech, I'm like, no, it's not, because he's not exercising his right to freedom of speech.
Right.
He actually hacked somebody, and basically, that I would consider identity theft.
Okay. That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Because the same way as if I hacked your Facebook account, your email account, and then I carried myself out as if I were you.
Yeah.
Right?
That's one way of looking at it.
That would be, as I would say it, I would say that would be considered identity theft.
See, I've been kind of equating it with, like, if I hack into your World of Warcraft account and fuck up your character. It's like if I jank up your stats and lose all your items or whatever. Yeah, that's kind of the level I was putting it at. But,
well, that's still you kind of taking control and screwing me over.
Yeah.
But in this case, because he was saying that, as you said, the way it worked is that you can't just do something or say, I do this to you, I have to allow that.
Yeah.
But because you had taken away you taken away my ability to be able to say yes, that happens. You had stolen that from me.
It robs you of the question.
And then in that case, you're saying that when I say that so and so does this, you are then saying that you are that person and you're allowing them. And so that's the same way as if you called and said, "Hi, my name is this so-and-so.
Right.
Can you please give me this? That is, it's falsifying who you are. And then I would say that's identity theft because he also stopped them from being able to say, no, that's not me.
Yeah. I would agree. That makes really good sense. So, yeah. So the anarchists' argument really didn't hold up, I mean, yeah, I agree. It's not freedom of speech. So I think they weren't really holding up, like, to what real anarchist standards are either.
Right.
Because, I mean, anarchy, it's too much to get into in a single podcast. But, I mean, it's like, real anarchists don't believe, everybody should just go hog wild and, it should just be everybody killing each other in the streets like the Purge. That's not what anarchy really is. We still believe in, like, having order and things like that. But yeah, so you have that. You have the people who believe that the wizard should have full control of a situation because the wizards are the administrators. So, they're saying, well, we should write up a set of laws, and the wizard should be able to say, oh, you broke this law, boom, your account's gone, you're toted. And, that really didn't get a lot of popularity because a lot of people were like, I came to this chat room so that I wouldn't have to do that. I came here to escape the real world. I don't want to have to follow a bunch of rules. I want to be a half-dragon fairy elf princess and just do what I want to do. So, that didn't get a lot of traction. And you had a lot of people saying, well, we need to vote. We need to, like, appeal to the wizards and, set up petitions and make decisions that way.
Okay, so these people who I already think are kind of like... Now, this wasn't the only mud around.
Yeah, there were multiple ones.
So they could have at any point said, "Hey, I'm just gonna dump this mud, or I'm gonna take my character, I'm gonna go over to another mud."
Yeah.
And have my character over there, same character, but now I've just moved.
Yeah. And I don't know if anybody even thought about that because I've never seen that suggested in any of these. I don't think anybody really thought that through.
So that's one thing I would say, stupid. The other thing is, you're saying, okay, we need to have a set of rules, and we need to create this constitution of, online play. None of that is really necessary, because all you have to do is just say, we can do whatever we want, because the game only, or the room only allows you to do, or allows your character action to be taken on your character that you allow. Okay?
Right. Unless they have a voodoo doll.
Right. So really what you have to say is, if anyone takes over someone else's character, avatar, right?
Yeah.
Then they're not allowed. That's it. That's all you have to do is just say, because anything else within the world, whether you want to say something or do something, whatever, that's allowed, and people can just walk away from it. But if you take over someone else's person, and you're claiming to be them and you're screwing with them, that's not allowed.
Yeah.
And you should be banned just like anything else, right? I mean, I'm not going to let somebody in my house who's going to start tearing up shit, right?
Right.
And then be like, well, I think what you need to do is have a constitution here to say, well, no, you get the fuck out and don't come back.
House
and
rules say.
Right. So, I mean, I don't understand why they've taken to such an extreme when it says all you have to do is say, you're not allowed to, basically to possess or steal someone else's character.
Well,
and that's all you need to do.
Yeah. Well, part of the issue with that is that the guy who programmed it, the Xerox employee who originally programmed this, had recently made the announcement, I want the wizards to pull back. Administrators shouldn't have to be police forcing this. People should be resolving their own issues. So that was part of the thing, is that the wizards had already had it spoken from basically the god of this world to say, don't be so involved. So that was part of it.
Well, but okay, be involved in, like, if you're talking about something like we're having a dispute over something that one person said or whatever. Yeah, you don't need to be involved with that. Let them handle that themselves. But if you're talking about someone like hacking into somebody else's account or whatever, that's completely different. Yeah, you don't need to be walking around policing this, but you do need to make sure that within our house, that you don't let someone in the house that doesn't belong there, right?
Yeah.
And if they do get in there, you kick them out. It's basically you're not the police, you're bouncers.
That makes sense.
You say you are the bouncers and I am the cooler, right? And I'm just saying, I mean, and that's all you have to do. It's like, don't grab the women's asses, right? You know, just, you know, don't, and, or, you know, or we're gonna throw you out.
Yeah,
and that's in that. In this case, the only rule is don't hack somebody's account.
Yeah.
And that's it. And if you do, we're gonna kick you out. Bingo. I mean, I don't understand why that's so hard.
Well, I mean, this was 1993. This was before there were like
people weren't that stupid. Well, okay, some people were that stupid.
In 1993.
But if you created this whole like thing, you're not that stupid. You may be stupid and you may be dumb in some ways. You may be very ignorant into the ways of like how the internet works. But there's still basic things that if you take that and say we're going to wipe away all the cyber in this and just imagine this is a real house, right? Mm-hmm. What do we not want to happen? Someone coming in and using a device that's going to make me or enslave me and do things that I don't want to do, that I can't control, and takes away all my free will. No, we can't allow that. Everything else we're cool with.
Yeah.
And that's not that hard.
I mean, I agree. I don't think anybody ever really thought about like terms of service and stuff like that back then.
But what I'm saying is I don't understand why it seems like that is just something as basic as that escaped everybody in this situation.
Well, I mean, the guy who programmed the room originally didn't want to be involved. He was actually... Yeah. Oh, hi, Mark. What a story.
Haitian voodoo guy keeps saying hi, Mark, to everyone.
So he was actually away on business during this whole thing. He wasn't even there for like the majority of the discussion. So, you know, it got to where the Wizards as a whole were like, you know, we're not getting involved here. We're not doing this. We're not toting it because you're supposed to be solving your own problems. And there it devolved into a major fight between the anarchists and the dictators and yada yada yada. And you know, even though they were all appealing to have this guy's account canceled, nobody would do it. So they're having this big massive meeting, right? And like everybody's logged in, and then Mr. Bungle shows up for the first time in days.
He shows up?
Yeah, he just pops into the meeting. And at first everybody's like, oh, you know, fuck you, dude. You've ruined our paradise, basically. And finally one person was like, I just want to know why you did it. You know, what provoked you to do this? And Mr. Bungle, which, I mean, you know, it's this whole frat house. Basically, Mr. Bungle says, I did it because I knew there were no consequences. It's like, yeah, I knew this wasn't physically hurting anybody. It doesn't affect anybody. This is just a game. And I knew that it wouldn't really matter in the long run. You know, 500 years from now, who's going to know the difference?
Well, that's like if I were to slaughter an entire population of people, right? Be like, yeah, 500 years from now, though.
Yeah.
You know, what's it going to matter? That's 500 years from now. You can't look that far ahead and be like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I stole from a bunch of people and did all this stuff, but 500 years from now, who's really gonna... I'm like, no.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, everybody who heard that was like, okay, this guy's a sociopath. You know?
No, he's just an ignorant-ass, dumb college kid.
Yeah.
But even still, if you... Let's say we flip the script, right?
Yeah.
And I go over to his house and I start breaking out the windows and stuff, be like, yeah, you busted windows in my house. Yeah, but 500 years from now, who's gonna give a shit? This house probably won't even still be standing 500 years from now. So, it's really... Yeah, if we skip ahead to the future, someone else is going to break those windows. Those windows wouldn't even exist anymore. I mean, no, that's just some ignorant ass college kids trying to you know explain why they shouldn't be punished for being dumbass kids.
Oh yeah,
and I understand they were technically adults, but they're still dumbass kids.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you know, once you get to be like our age, it's like anybody below 23 is a kid.
Fucking moron. And I say that some of them aren't. I would say some of them aren't.
But. Yeah. No, I've met some mature people that age group, but yeah, I've definitely met some total dumbasses in that age group too. So I'm kind of skimming over the article here again, and I kind of set it aside there.
So his reply was, oh, the reason we did it was because we knew there weren't going to be any consequences, and and it was just a game, but that... I wouldn't say I wouldn't call them a sociopath. I would say that they're just completely... They're just a bunch of assholes, really.
Yeah.
So, because you went out of your way to do this.
Oh, yeah.
That's the biggest part of it. You went out of your way to do this and be like, it's just a game. But and I don't want to say, well, you wouldn't want somebody to do that to you. Well, obviously you wouldn't, but just to dismiss it like that, like, oh, well, you guys were... Okay, so let's take it like this. Let's say that I go to New York, right?
It is the gag command, by the way. I just saw.
Okay. Let's say I go to New York, and there's some guys playing chess, and I walk over there and I just flip their board over, and I say, Psh, it doesn't really matter anyway. It's just a game.
Just a game.
You think that's gonna? Do you think that's gonna hold up? It's just a game. No. I mean, so that's just your way of saying I was really bored. I felt like being a destructive little prick, and I'm gonna say that I shouldn't be. That I shouldn't, be punished for that because, oh well, it's just a game. It didn't really matter. Nobody was really hurt. Yeah, you're just a piece of shit.
Yeah. I'm getting to where he actually makes his speech here. Okay, so yeah, and Mr. Bungle thought about it, and as eddies of discussion and debate continued to swirl around him, he thought about it some more, and then he said this. I engaged in a bit of psychological device that is called thought polarization. The fact that this is not real life simply added to heighten the effect of the device. It was purely a sequence of events with no consequence on my real life existence. Which is a lot of political bullshit double talk for him saying it's just a game.
Wait. But he said on my real life existence. Mm-hmm. But his character was not damaged in any way. It was everyone else's characters who were damaged. So yes, it didn't affect your real life existence, but it did affect everyone else's, even if it was just a game.
Oh yeah. Which is why everybody was saying this guy's a sociopath. I agree with you. I think he's just an ignorant dumbass. Yeah. But
and it's not, and you keep saying him, but it's not him. It's a group of them.
Yeah, they are ignorant dumbasses. I've never had a.
And again, they're just a bunch of boring ass kids who couldn't find anything better to do with their time, and they were like, hey, let's go in there and screw with a bunch of people. So this is the kind of thing with like internet viruses, which I don't get, right?
Oh yeah.
If I'm gonna pull a joke, a prank, or just be a dick to somebody, right? Mm-hmm. I want to see their expression. I want to know the people that I hurt. Because otherwise, then what did I do? I mean, it's like a bunch of people were affected, yeah, but do I know any of them? Do I actually get the satisfaction of looking at their face and go, ah, ha, ha, ha? No. So I'm going to do something that's going to hurt a bunch of people, but I don't get that satisfaction, that gleam of being like, I'm the one that did it. I can actually see the pain in you. I just get to hear about it peripherally through whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
So these guys aren't even fully aware of like who it is that they're hurting. They just start going out there attacking a bunch of people, and you can't be more, or you can be. No, just.
Yeah, it's just.
I don't know if I can keep saying ignorant because that just doesn't seem strong enough.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just a dick move. It's just like I don't even care if it actually affects people. It's just knowing that someone out there is getting fucked.
Right.
It's just being a dick. It's not even being ignorant. It's just being a dick. You're just a hateful person. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, I know I've made this equation with you when we were talking about viruses before. It's like that kid in grade school who would just sit with his legs stuck out in the aisle just on the off chance that somebody would trip on it. I mean, I've seen those kids. I've dealt with those kids. It's just a dick move. It's like, I mean, it's just mean-spirited.
And to what end?
Yeah.
Because I'm bored.
Because it'd be funny.
Yeah.
So finally Mr. Bungle gets bored. He leaves. And the discussion just kind of peters out after that. And they're like, okay, well, the wizards aren't really gonna help us. We can't really make rules and laws. We're not really agreeing with what the anarchists are saying in this situation, yada, yada, yada. And finally, one wizard who happened to be sitting in on the meeting, I believe his name was Tom Traceback, was his username, and he finally stood up and was like, well, I have to go, guys, and he left the room, and within minutes he had toted Mr. Bungle. So he just basically vigilanteed the whole matter himself. So he was like, fuck this, politics aren't getting us anywhere, trying to establish rules aren't getting us anywhere, we're not getting results. So he decided, I'm gonna just be a vigilante, take matters into my own hands, and he destroyed the guy's account, which fucking should have happened 4 days ago, right?
Right. And here's the thing, okay, and when he did this, what were the repercussions to him?
There was none, he was a wizard.
Exactly. And the thing is, what the whole point that people were making is that there are no repercussions for this guy's actions. So why was it taking so long for them to do something when they knew that no one was going to, there wasn't going to be any repercussions for their actions either? Which unfortunately still opens up the whole thing of there is no accountability for anything here.
Yeah,
and that's really what we want, is we want accountability, because we want to stop this kind of stuff from happening in the future. Now, we all, I don't say we all, but, we feel good about what he did because he did what we see as being right compared to, I guess justice was done, right?
Yeah. Justice was totally done.
Right, but what he did is the same as, he could do that to anybody, is what I'm saying. He could do that to anybody, regardless of whether they were being good or being bad or whatnot. So
absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right. So, okay, he did this, and we're all happy that he did it, but it kind of goes back to the whole, you remember yesterday I was telling you about Kingdom Come, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if this is the kind of person you want to be around and solve your problems, right? Then I can't be associated with that. I can't. And then what happens is that starts to spiral out of control. And
which is why the anarchists were taking the stance they were taking. The anarchists were saying, we don't want the wizards to be able to just do that. Because sure, they got rid of Mr. Bungle, but what if they decide that they don't like me, even though I've done nothing wrong?
But that's not what anybody said.
Yeah.
Nobody said, just, that they're going to, kind of do whatever. The whole thing, at least from where I was saying, is that if you have somebody, and I can't believe I'm wasting so much time on this fucking stupid thing, because it really is just stupid from the word go.
Yeah. And yet it's compelling. There's it's so hard not to talk about this.
But the problem for me is that so many people are just damn dumb in this whole situation that I'm just like, I can't believe that none of you are seeing this as being what it really is, which is, we're not talking about someone just arbitrarily going through and just screwing around with people. We're saying here's someone that doesn't belong because they're effectively taking over someone else's control, and that's all we want to say. You can't do that.
Yeah.
This is not allowed.
Yeah, which, I would think that all that needs is, fix your script, Fix your coding so that it works around the voodoo doll. That's the point of a white hat hacker in the first place. And I realize, okay, this was run by a solo guy, and he probably never knew anything about the voodoo doll.
Okay, so all right, so you brought up a really interesting point that really negates everything I've said, which is, okay, run a program or create something that blocks that hack, that fixes that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And make sure that if something like that happens again, that you don't have to worry about, we're going to kick Mr. Bungle out, we're going to lock him in a cage or whatever. We're just going to stop his hack and shut it down, keep him from doing that. If someone else comes up with another one, we'll stop that one, right? And that's it.
Yeah.
And then we'll say, say something that what are you going to make up a story? But I don't know, something unfortunately, an evil wizard came from another mud and tried to take us over, but we shot him down. So he forced everyone to act inappropriately and blah 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 blah, and then that soothes everything over. But obviously by this time people know the real story, so you really don't have to do that. It's like you're subscribing too much to something that really doesn't need that much attention or anything else to it, and you're taking too long to solve a very simple problem of, just stop him from doing what he did, make sure that he can't do it again, make sure no one else can do it again, end of story.
Yeah.
Let's move on with our lives.
And like I said, that's the interesting thing about this to me, is that they're trying to do all this in character. And it's like, yes, but what about our rights and stuff? And all it would take would be one guy to get out of character and say, well, you know what, fuck that guy.
Right.
You know what? This is a fun game, but he's ruining our fun game time. That's all it would have taken. You don't have to be like, oh, he violated this Hindu god of indeterminate gender, and we have to...
Wait, they were actually saying that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah, it was a discussion of what are our rights here in this world.
I thought that they were approaching it like actual people.
Well,
not
the guy who wrote the article was. Like I said, he interviewed these people. He interviewed Exu and all that, and was like, how's this actually impacting you? So he actually was viewing it as real people. But yeah,
No, I was thinking about the real people saying, hey, we don't want our characters being messed with. But no, there was actually them saying, my Hindu god or whatever it is upset now because I did something that violates. I'm like, no, stop.
It was both. It was both. There were people who were, fully in character. There were people who were just saying, he's a bastard. He fucked up our time.
Yeah, that's and
Like Exu never really talked in character, I don't think, as a result of this.
ugh.
So I mean, yeah, I mean there were people who definitely like viewed this as, you know, this was my sanctuary and you've ruined it.
To them, I just have to say, go buy some dolls.
So I'm gonna kind of like condense things down from here because I think we've kind of like discussed like our view on the solution here, which is to just look at it a little more realistically and stop pretending that it's a real world, and then you can solve the problem that much quicker. But the Cliff Notes version of what happens from here is that the programmer, the creator of LambdaMOO, comes back from his business trip. The wizards all explain to him, here's what went down. And, you know, here's the problem. Here's what the people are complaining about because you don't want the wizards to be involved. So he said, okay, well, you know what? We're just going to set this up to be popular vote. So over the weekend, he programmed it in. If enough players vote to make a request for something that only a wizard can do, then the wizard has to do it. So, you know, somebody fucking around with you, then make enough people vote to toad them, and a wizard will toad them.
Now, how much did it cost to join this thing?
Free, I think.
So,
Pretty sure it's free.
was there like was it monetized in any way?
Not that I'm aware of, which is probably why he was still a programmer for Xerox for so long.
Okay, so I'm just envisioning me coming back from a business trip, and it's like, boss, let me tell you about the stuff that happened with this, and this. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm shutting the whole thing down. Good night.
Well, I mean...
Or like, hey, here, you know what? Here are the keys. You can have it. I'm walking away. You know, hasta lasagna, don't get any on you.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what he did with the vote system. He was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't be the police force here either. So, let the people vote. If the vote reaches the number we need, then the wizards take care of it. So, I mean, I think from that point on, he was completely detached from the situation. Now, the funny thing is, and again, I'm just kind of skimming over the rest of these details, Mr. Bungle comes back. They used a VPN, switched up their IP address, which confused the login information, and let them log in as a completely new user. This time they didn't come in as Mr. Bungle, they came in as like Dr. Jest, I think his name was. And for a long time, nobody even knew it was the same person, but one day, he grabbed somebody and stuffed them in a bottle, and inside the bottle was an image of Mr. Bungle, so everybody then knew.
Okay. Wait. So again, we're not talking about any kind of visual thing. He's like, it goes up to me, he goes, I grab you and stuff you in a bottle, right? And inside the bottle is a picture of Mr. Bungle. And they're like, yeah. He's back!
Yeah.
But it's all still text-based, and then, like you said, you can't do anything that I don't allow, so unless he used that same hack, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't have stuffed me in a bottle or stuffed them in a bottle or anything else.
Well, I mean, like, he stuffed him in the bottle, and then all you have to do is say, I get out of the bottle. Because you're still in control of your character, you know?
I'm sorry, this is all too much for me because
it's pretty weird.
It's a bunch of people being incredibly stupid. And he's like, oh my goodness, he's back. I'm like,
well,
you
people
tire me sometimes.
Yeah, the people immediately tried to vote to just have him instantly toaded, and they couldn't get enough votes. Don't know why. Things are pretty quiet for a long time, and I mean like several months. Things were just pretty quiet, and then it happens again, and Dr. Jest goes on a rampage and uses a voodoo doll and rapes a bunch of people, at which point everybody just votes and they're like, toad the fucker, and they toad him, and it's done.
But he
doesn't come back.
But he could have if he wanted to.
Yeah, he could have just like kept creating accounts.
Okay, so I have another question here. So after all of that, they still didn't patch the thing to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, they still didn't patch the voodoo doll.
Which was the main thing that they should have, could have done to solve the problem to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I'll be fair, I don't know shit about coding. I don't know how to code a text-based adventure or text-based MMO or any of that. But, I mean, I would think that it couldn't have been that complicated. You know, if a bunch of college frat boys could figure out how to make a voodoo doll in the first place, then you should be able to find a workaround and a patch to fix the voodoo doll. Would be my thoughts.
One would think, or apparently none of them did, but
Yeah. So, what's interesting about this is, again, it brought up a lot of discussions about, like, different rights, and, we had a pretty interesting discussion as a result of this of, what constitutes freedom of speech, and things like that. There was a period of time in the early to mid-2000s where law professors would have students get accounts on LambdaMOO and ask the people there about this happening. Because it was an entire discussion of forming a political structure for this world, they had their students learn, like, how did all this come to get formed? How did you reach these conclusions and stuff?
wow.
Yeah.
And this is why you pay so much for a college education.
Yep.
Wow. So let me just process all this for a minute.
All right.
If I can.
Yeah. I mean, that's the story. That is.
All right. So all right. These are my final thoughts.
All right.
And I'm actually going to be done with this whole thing after this. These are my final thoughts. What you've just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone on this podcast is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Wow. Yeah.
You want to close this out?
I mean, no, I think that pretty much summed it up. I mean, people were really, really invested in it, and I was kind of hoping that by talking about it, maybe I could make sense of why they were.
But
and I'm really, like, not the richer for it. So
no, not even with sixpence. All right.
But yeah, so I would be interested in hearing other people's thoughts on this, though.
I would not. I'm just going to be clear. Not to say that you don't have a right to freedom of speech, but I'm just saying, again, I'm going to go into the other room so I don't have to hear it. Because
let's take this caller now.
Because that's the right I have. If I don't want to engage with you, in mud, I can go into another room, and then I don't have to actually interact with you at all.
Yeah, that's the whole point. So, I mean, for me, I think it's a bit crazy when, like, you're looking at, especially, now in today's political climate and culture, and you're looking at, like, the Me Too movement and stuff, and it's like, I have a difficult time imagining even taking something like that seriously. In the face of like, people are getting really raped here, And I think if I were talking to somebody and they were like, oh yeah, I was raped in a chat room, my first reflex would probably be to laugh, honestly. Which is, that probably sounds horrible, but it's like, okay. I would just turn the computer off and walk away, but hey, that's just me.
Now, when you told me about this and kind of about it and said, hey, check out this article.
Yeah.
And I told you, I said, this reminded me or made me think of that, I think the movie's called Compliance. And I said, it's where, this guy, and it was based on a true story of this guy, called up, said he was a police officer and that, someone in the store had, that was an employee of the store had done this and had the manager or whatever take them to the back and deputize them and had them, search them, ask them a bunch of questions, and perform a body cavity search, and there was like a young girl, I think she was like 16 or whatever, and both of them consented because this guy was, saying he was a police, and even though rationally you think this doesn't make any sense at all, why would they? It's kind of like when like the you get like an email from the FBI saying that we're the FBI and you need to pay us or whatever, or the IRS, or we're going to come and do this. Like that's not how they operate,
Right.
So but some people fall for it anyway. It's like, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm like, yeah, but let's stop and think about this realistically.
Yeah. Which like something like that, I would chalk up to naivety, but to me, like this chat room thing, it would just be common sense of, okay, you've hacked my account, I'm going to shut down.
Right.
that has been kind of like a golden rule of like computer usage from the beginning, is that, you know, you're worried about somebody hacking you over the internet, disconnect. If you're really super worried, if you're afraid that they've like spotted your IP address or something, destroy the computer.
Yeah,
run magnets over
Just
it.
chop that internet down.
Cut the internet down. That's what the internet lumberjack would do.
Hell yeah.
I'm working on it. So, I mean, I don't know. I was hoping desperately that I could make sense of it, because the people were so invested. And the guy who wrote the article was so, like, he totally changed his perspective on it. You know, he started where we were of, well, this is stupid. And he said by the end of it that he was like, no, I mean, these people were really violated. This was really, you know, a cybercrime, whatever. And
No.
like, no, I mean, I've read the article. I'm actually looking forward to reading his entire book, to be totally honest.
God. You know, now the more I'm thinking about it, maybe Lincoln should have been assassinated. I mean, because he seems to flip-flop, you know. It's like,
Right.
you know, you bring up some interesting points, you know.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, I was definitely interested in hearing like your thoughts on it, because I was like, you know, should I be more invested in this? Should I be taking it seriously? You know, maybe my sociopathic tendencies are just like not letting me see the gravity of it. But you're kind of like coming at it from where I'm coming at it, which is like, no, I mean, you should have just utilized some common sense.
Yeah.
You should have just toted the fucker, killed his account, and figured out a patch for it.
And everybody should have used some common sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, like, to me, as soon as I saw it flash up, oh yeah, your character shoves a steak knife up their ass, I'm like, well, time to go.
Yeah. It's like,
I'm shutting down.
I'm like, wait a minute. How does this guy know about my secret fantasies? It's like, if he says it's a scissor steak knife, I'm going to swear this. You know, who are you? How'd you get into my diary?
Right. But yeah, I mean, I do think it was interesting. I think it was a very interesting story. But it's like, I can appreciate something as being interesting without agreeing with any of it, you know?
For me, I wouldn't go so far as even say it was an interesting story. It was a story, and some shit happened, right? But I would say that I don't feel that it was interesting at all. I feel it was a bunch of people doing a bunch of stupid shit, and not really think. Okay, so let me just step back. Even though I said I was done, let me just step back one more moment and just say, then this mud, right? And you say it was an interactive, like, game, right? Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned Zork or whatever, but it's an interactive game.
Yeah.
I don't think anywhere in there you've told me the game part of it.
Well, like I said, it's more of a chat room with game elements.
What are the game elements?
Controlling a character.
No, that's not a game. So basically, it was an interactive chat room where you pretended to be someone that you aren't, which is a chat room.
Well,
there was no game to it. It was just a fucking chat room where the people, instead of trying to convince someone that you really were, like, you know, like this, like, you know, 6'4", like 220-pound guy with like a huge schlong or whatever, and some double D tits, you like, everyone knew that was just a lie because they were lying too, and you're like, okay, I'm happy with your lie, you're happy with my lie, let's talk. That's it. I mean, there was really nothing more to it than just that.
Yeah, I mean, the strongest point of the gameplay element is that you have a character avatar. And I mean, it's usually some kind of fantasy type creature, and you can go from room to room. I mean, I guess I guess it depends on your definition of gameplay element.
Well, yeah, when I play a game, I want there to be some kind of a game to it, not just like it's like I'm going to log in and do some interactivity here. Like what?
What I would equate it with is that it's the early '90s version of Second Life.
But isn't that designed mainly for like a sex type thing?
Largely, but I mean, it's still just creating character avatars and chatting. And like, yeah, you can make your character avatars perform sex acts, but so can you in LambdaMOO. It's still the same basic principle. So, I mean, I would say that it still has gameplay elements. I mean, the whole, like, text-based thing makes that difficult for me. Because it's like, you know, if I'm playing a text-based game, if I'm, like, playing, you know, the Lord of the Rings text adventure or whatever, and somebody's like, oh, hey, what are you doing? I don't think I would say, I'm playing a game.
He's got no arms.
I've had worse. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely agree with you. I mean, personally, I found it to be interesting, but I mean, I do agree that, like, there were no people utilizing common sense in this whole situation.
No, none.
And I mean, I think it was probably awarded a little bit more gravity than it needed.
I honestly, I would not even say that this was deserving of an article. I mean, because basically this entire thing amounted to was, hey, here's a story about some kids at school that bullied a bunch of other kids at school, and that's it.
I mean, I guess at the real core of it, maybe.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have taken shouldn't have been as entertained by it. I'm just like, for me, I'm like, this was just. Maybe it's just because I'm just such a dick, right? But when I have one person being stupid, and they're being stupid to someone else, and that other person is being equally stupid back, I don't have any sympathy for them. And I'm like, yeah, that person's being a dumbass, but you're also being a dumbass. So, yeah, I'm just gonna step back, yeah, because you're both just being completely moronic. And I won't feel sorry for you in any way, because like you could do something about the situation if you would just stop for a minute and stop being such a freaking moron.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's where the common sense element comes into play here, I think, is that you kind of got to force yourself to break character here and just live in the real world for 30 seconds and the problem is solved.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's the thing for me. It's just like, it's interesting to me that even though it's just text, people were so lost in it that nobody thought to do that.
And what was their investment in this? So I was reading the other day about these what do you call them? They were shits. What is it? Hackers in England that were hacking all of these Fortnite accounts, right? And they were hacking them and selling them for tons of money. And these guys are making a shit ton of money off of this. And a lot of these hackers were like 14-year-old kids, right?
Yeah.
And they're really young, and they're like, oh, it's like, well, how'd you get started in this? And they're like, well, someone hacked my account and stole all my stuff, and so, once I found out how they did it and everything, I decided I was going to do that to someone else too. Which is like, okay, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah, that's just bully syndrome.
Right.
You picked on me, well, I'm going to pick on this kid.
Yeah. So, but it's like, all right, but the thing is, how it affected you, so why would you then intentionally do that to somebody else?
Yeah, it's like, how much it sucked.
Right, and it's like, okay, whatever. So they're doing that, and the other part of this is, I play video games, you play video games, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying to even diminish the value of video game play, but Fortnite is a free game, and the thing that they're paying for aren't even things that boost their stats. It's just
aesthetic.
Right. It's like outfits and dumbass dances, right?
Hate the dances.
Which I don't get at all. It's like, and I was talking to a guy. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's just a way of just kind of like rubbing in and trolling people, just like teabagging somebody." I'm like, yeah, but I don't care if you teabag me because it's not a real character. You're not really affecting me or hurting me in any way at all. So you make your virtual character do something like, quote unquote, demeaning to my virtual character, but it doesn't actually affect me at all and doesn't really do anything.
You see, and I'm the same way with that. I totally agree with that. But, I've gamed with people where, if you hit the taunt button and make your character taunt after you, after you beat them or something, they get pissed. People get invested in this. It's strange.
I will say this. I play with people in video games that, and I'm sure you've had this too, where you're playing a game and someone starts like doing it, like we were talking about Street Fighter earlier, and they sit there in a corner and they just sit there and they just keep like fireballing and then like uppercutting you or whatever when you try to jump over, and then they're like, just like, dude, it's like, you suck at this game. I'm like, no, you just cheat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
That's not even a thing. You're not actually playing the game. You're just being a cheap ass, and you can't brag about that. You can't brag about doing something cheap and then saying that I'm a better gamer than you. Not really, because you didn't really play the game. You just exploited, something and then just use that, but you have no understanding of how to really play the game or any kind of aesthetics. And you're like, well, if you were a better gamer, you could stop that. Really? Because that's I'm not sure how many games you play. That's not really kind of how that works.
Yeah, there's no real cure for spamming.
So that's a lot different than like, you using your avatar to do something bad to my avatar and then like ha 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 ha, because even then you're not really saying anything to me. But again, whatever. In this game here, their investment or whatever it was that they did or didn't do or yada yada yada, right?
Yeah.
What really were they invested in?
I think that they viewed the characters as an extension of themselves. In a lot of ways, it's kind of the same thing that we've talked about with like Chris-chan. And, how dare you draw Rosachu with a penis because, that's a violation of something that's sacred to him.
But, I mean, like, I'm saying this whole thing, this entire thing, what was your investment in all of this? To where like, it was like you felt so, like, this is my character, or this is my thing, and you're doing this to it, or whatever, and like, but it's none of it's real in any sense, and it doesn't change anything about your daily life.
Right.
And you've invested so much in it that for nothing at all. And I guess I'm just I think I'm getting lost in my own thoughts here about this whole thing, because I'm not understanding why it was such an issue for them that they felt like, oh my God, you just walk away, just like I'm walking away. This is so, what's going on here makes it so it's not fun anymore, and I'm done, and I'm walking away. And this character that I seem to be so happy with or whatever, I just gotta stop and just be like, all right, I'm out. Peace.
I feel like in order to really understand it, I would need to talk to somebody who's in that culture, I feel like I would need to say, okay, so this character was violated. What if you create another character? Are you still going to feel violated? Are you going to be carrying over this baggage to the new character? What if you had two separate accounts? What if only one of your characters was, violated? I don't understand the full parameters of what they're viewing as sacred here, Right. I don't understand the boundaries of, well, this is okay, but this isn't.
And what was it that was done to your character to be like, they will never be clean again?
Yeah.
Because it didn't really happen. It didn't really exist.
Yeah, and that's what we've been saying from the beginning is, if that, happened to me in a chat room like that, I'm pretty sure my response would be, no, it didn't.
Right.
My account's been hacked, so this isn't canon.
Right. But I think going back to like what I was trying to say about the Fortnite thing, right? And there's people, they were like hacking other people's accounts and stealing their stuff. And one thing, you've put a lot of money into something that's cosmetic.
Yeah.
And they're making tons of money like hacking people's accounts and stealing their stuff. And the other people are getting really pissed off. It's like, you stole my stuff and everything and this and that. And you stole somebody's money because you hacked and you robbed them and then you stole their stuff. But your character in the game, right?
Yeah.
They have no backstory.
Right.
There's nothing to them. Every time you log in, it's new. Maybe you might have higher stats or something or whatever, but what they stole from you didn't change any of that stuff. It was just, I no longer have this outfit to wear.
Yeah.
I no longer can do this stupid dance without buying that stuff over again. But your character as a whole is still the same person they were before. Their status is the same. So you as a person have been violated because they stole from you,
Yeah.
but your character has not changed in any way at all.
Yeah. Well, like the Fortnite thing, I mean, I can understand being upset because of, you spent money on it. You shouldn't have spent money on it, but you did.
Right.
But, like, I mean, I don't know. As far as, like, the LambdaMOO thing, the closest thing I can equate it with, and, it's going to piss people off, but, I mean, it's the same thing as Chris Chan getting upset when people draw Sonichu getting, like, violently killed or whatever. Yeah. And he would get so bent out of shape about that and be like, no, don't hurt Sonichu! Don't do that! And it's like, dude, it's your fucking character.
Well,
if you don't want him to be gay, then just say, okay, well, that didn't happen.
Right. And then, in his case, I can see where, like, he's like, hey, don't draw my character in this way, in this fashion, or whatever. And you're like, I don't want, this character I created or whatever to be, to have images or whatever them, like, floating about this way or whatever. But when that's not something that's, like, being spread around everywhere, it's just these people that are doing that stuff just to make me angry or upset me. But it doesn't really change anything else. I'm like, kind of like a whatever.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, Chris Chan was viewing it from the perspective of, you were violating my characters.
Right.
Rosachu is hurt and is crying because you drew her with a penis. I mean, that's like his logic behind that. And it's like, that to me is kind of the same thing with this LambdaMOO situation, is that, I mean, they're viewing it as, my character was violated.
Yeah, I get that's what they're doing, but I'm like...
Well, again, I'm not saying I agree with any of it.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'm done.
I mean, to me, I just was kind of wondering, how does this impact us today from, like, a cybersecurity thing? Because, there's still sexual harassment and cyberbullying.
Right.
And, like, I know a lot of times people will get their accounts terminated and stuff on, like, forums or on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. But, I mean, I also see all over Twitter of people threatening to rape somebody or whatever. Just as, like, it's just retarded shit that kids say these days.
That's some stupid shit right
It's
there.
some really stupid shit. There's, especially in today's climate and culture, where everything comes back to bite you in the ass, there is no way I would make a threat like that.
Well, I wouldn't make a threat like that anyway. That's just, fucking juvenile.
Yeah, I wouldn't have, under any circumstance. But yeah, I mean... Like,
but yeah, I wasn't saying did you whip him, but to make some kind of threat like that, and I'm like, what...
Yeah, it's a shitty thing to threat. It really is. But just like, I mean, I can't imagine, we're in a political climate right now where guys are filming their girlfriends giving consent to sex before they sleep with them so that they can't get charged with rape cases. And you're going to be dumb enough to threaten to rape somebody over fucking Twitter? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know, just like, what I was hoping as I was exploring this article and exploring the story was that it would, like, kind of affect, this is how this thing, impacted things for the positive. It's like, I really don't see that. I was hoping that I would, but I don't really see that.
Yeah, because in the end, the outcome from that wasn't something that was, like, universally used.
Yeah.
It really...
It's like, yeah, it didn't have some major effect on terms of service. It didn't have some major effect on cybersecurity. I really wanted it to. I was really hoping that it would, because it's like, man, people were really invested in this. Why does this even warrant, Ranker talking about it? And then it feels like it kind of went nowhere. But again, I mean, I'd be interested in, hearing other people, like, maybe kind of explain it. And, I've said this same kind of thing before with, like, the shipping community and stuff. It's like, I can't understand being that invested in a character, And, like, we've talked about that a lot during, like, our EDF playthroughs. Like, I cannot imagine caring so deeply for, like, Star Fox that I can't be satisfied until I see him in a relationship. It's like, it's that kind of thing. It's like, I can't force my brain to comprehend it, so maybe I just need help. I don't know.
Shit, we just gave him some help.
I don't know. Maybe I'll read the full book and see some more of his thoughts, but it also feels like he was not really explaining it from an objective standpoint because he wound up agreeing with them, you know? I don't know, but yeah, that's the story of LambdaMOO. You can like definitely do some research on it yourself, pull up the article, read about it. It's...
Oh, it got me.
Oh, your character died. How does that make you feel?
I just stimpacked. Well, you know, the thing that pissed me off about that was they were like, go defend this place. And I show up and there's nothing going on. I had to actually go and find the trouble. When you're like, defend, there's nothing to defend. It's like, oh, okay, let me go be the asshole here. And let me go find the trouble that I need to defend you guys from.
I was just hoping that this was going to get into a thing where you like felt some deep personal loss because your character died.
Yeah. People die every day.
I don't know, it kind of reminds me of that silly Jack Chick Dungeons & Dragons story, Dark Dungeons, where he's trying to explain how you'll go to hell if you play D&D. And, like, the chick's
well, only if you do something wrong, or you defend your deity. Then other than that, you don't have to worry about going to hell.
Yeah. But, the chick's, like, character, Elf Star, whatever, Leaf Star, whatever, and, like, her elf character dies, and she's so upset she commits suicide.
Yeah.
It's like, it's D&D. The worst you're going to lose is an hour having to roll up another character. And yes, that sucks, but grow up. I still want to do a Let's Watch of that movie adaptation, though. Well,
we still want to do the Tom Hanks one.
Oh, yeah. Can't even remember which one that is now.
Mazes and Monsters, I believe it's called.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it's Mazes and Monsters.
That sounds right, yeah.
That movie is so bad.
It cannot be worse than Dark Dungeons. That's the RPGers. We tried to get them expelled from school, but they're too popular. But yeah, so that's the story of a rape in cyberspace. The story of LambdaMOO. I mean, it would be interesting if LambdaMOO were still relevant, but I mean, it's not. You know.
Oh, I mean, here's the thing. You know, in this case, it was like in 10 years, like who's gonna care?
Right. Yeah. So it's like
not Turk 182.
So I guess, like, ultimately, Mr. Bungle was kind of right. It really had no impact on him or on anyone else, ultimately. I feel like it's going to be, like, one of these people who it actually happened to are going to listen and be like, you don't understand! It's like, I don't.
You weren't there!
You weren't there! You don't understand! It's like, okay, I admit it. I acknowledge I don't understand. Help me understand. Explain why this was so fucking traumatic to you, please.
I don't care to understand.
Don't email Turk about it, email me.
Yeah, email Acomi, don't email me.
Help me understand, because I want to figure out why did this have such a fucking impact? It's killing me. It's like when I was, it's just killing me. But yeah, I think we've talked about it long enough.
Let's let it go, Acomi. It's Chinatown. So anyway, yeah, yeah, that's just weird. But how long have we been talking about this? This is crazy stupid.
An hour and a half.
What?
Yeah. Well, okay, there was that brief, like, little bit of silence when you went upstairs, so, I don't know, I guess like an hour, 15 minutes. No, you weren't gone that long.
Way too long.
Hour 25 minutes.
Alright, so...
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot to talk about, yeah.
Hold on. So before we officially sign off, because we got pizza waiting. That's like, what, 15 minutes? Oh, shit, it's a half hour overdue.
Yeah. I'm really peckish now.
Yeah. Well, you can keep talking. I mean, don't just leave them hanging.
You said hold on.
I mean, don't sign off yet. I mean, like, don't say anything.
Well, no, I mean, I think I've pretty much said my piece on it, you know. When I found out about it, I was interested enough to hope that it would, you know, turn out to have something relevant for us to discuss, and it's like, kind of guess not.
Yeah, I just think everybody involved was just stupid, except for the guy that created the thing where he's like, yeah, okay, I'm done, bye.
Yeah.
He was the only one that was just like, really, you're being children. This guy's being an ass. You know, peace. I'm out.
Yeah. He definitely distanced himself.
So going back to earlier, let's just sign this out. The Mr. Bungle rock band.
Yeah.
Singer Mike Patton was known to have had a bad relationship with Red Hot Chili Peppers frontman Anthony Kiedis, beginning with Kiedis saw Patton performing with Faith No More and accused him of imitating his style. Their album California was scheduled to be released on June 8th of 1999, but Warner Brothers pushed it back so as not to coincide with the Red Hot Chili Peppers' similarly titled album Californication, which was to be released on the same day. Following the album release date clash, Kiedis had Mr. Bungle removed from a series of summer festivals in Europe as a headlining act at the festivals. The Red Hot Chili Peppers had final word on the bands that would appear. This is all according to Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. According to the band members themselves, Kiedis had never met or spoken with anyone involved with Mr. Bungle aside from Mike Patton. Patton explained to the AV Club, our agent was in the process of booking these festivals, and it was becoming apparent that we'd landed some pretty good ones, one in France, another one in Holland, some big-name festivals. Turns out someone's holding a grudge. We were booted off several bills, specifically because Anthony Kiedis did not want us on the bill. He threatened to pull the Chili Peppers if Mr. Bungle was on the bill. In a separate interview, he also clarified that the rest of the band doesn't care. It's something to do with Anthony. Trey Spruance added, we were booked months in advance to do 11 festival dates in Europe. Come summer, we get a call that from the three biggest of those festivals, all of them the same day, saying that we can't play because the headline band retains the rights to hire and fire whoever they wish. We found it was Red Hot Chili Peppers, so our manager called their manager to find out what the hell was going on. Their manager was very apologetic and said, we're really sorry. We want you to know this doesn't affect the management position or the bands for that matter. This is Anthony Kiedis who wants this. In retaliation, Mr. Bungle parodied the Red Hot Chili Peppers in Pontiac, Michigan on Halloween. Patton introduced each Mr. Bungle band member with the name of one of the Red Hot Chili Peppers before covering the songs Give It Away, Around the World, Under the Bridge, and Scar Tissue, with Patton deliberately using incorrect lyrics. Mr. Bungle also satirized many of the mannerisms of the band, mocking heroin injections, deceased guitarist Hillel Slovak, and their on-stage antics. Kiedis responded by having them removed from the 2000 Big Day Out Festival in Australia and New Zealand. He said of the festival, I would not have given 2 fucks if they played there with us, but after I heard about the Halloween show where they mocked us, fuck him and fuck the whole band. Patton went on to claim that Kiedis' actions had ruined Mr. Bungle's career, while Trevor Dunn remarked, it really screwed us up. It screwed up my life in a personal way. When asked if he had exchanged any words with Kiedis over the course of the dispute, Patton commented in 2000, I have not had words. I don't think his, minders, his gorillas would let me have words with him. Animosity between the two bands continued, with Dunn later criticizing each of the Peppers on their personal webpage, specifically the bassist Flea, saying, look, Flea, in all seriousness, really isn't that good. I mean, come on, Red Hot Chili Peppers were vaguely interesting in the 80s, but Christ, they fucking suck. They suck. Don't talk about it anymore.
Wow, harsh. Wow, harsh.
So apparently, so that's a wrap that up there with the story about Mr. Bungle and the Red Hot Chili Pepper feud, which I alluded to earlier, but I didn't have that. I thought it was Lollapalooza, but it was some other stuff there.
Huh. Well, yeah. So, that is the podcast. Then, I'm gonna call it a wrap here. So, thanks everybody for giving it a listen. Feel free to seek out the story and draw your own conclusions. Let us know if you agree with us that it's an awful lot for people to get upset about, or give us a reason to understand why it actually matters. I don't know.
Yeah.
Turk, you got anything else you want to add?
No. I actually jumped back into the fray even when I didn't want to. So I'm done. I'm done. I'll say this. I would be curious, when I say I would be curious, meaning that if you ever get someone to respond to you, maybe they'll give me an answer to this, which is, all this time later, right?
Right.
Does it really matter? Right? That the whole where's your avatar? Or the character that you created that meant so much to you at the time, is that character? And I know things mean a lot to people at the time, and then as time goes on, they don't mean anything to them anymore. But this whole thing was really important to you, and it turned out to be a bigger thing in your life, right, than maybe what you were expecting at the time. So now that we look back on it, right, mm-hmm. Where is that character? Do you still hold a fondness for them in some regard? When you are doing something online, do you still use that character's name or their background or whatever to do some of the stuff that to flesh out or to as the character or personality for some future things, or do you just be like, I don't even play video games anymore, online text-based games or text-based online games, or whatever it is? That I'd be curious about. Yeah. But again, you don't have to contact me directly. You can just give that information to Acomi.
Yeah, I'll try to be fair with it. But yeah, if there's some positive feedback to this podcast and people are actually interested in the story, then let me know, and maybe I can bum around and see if LambdaMOO is still active and see if any of the original members are still there. But I'm not going to do that on my own volition. I'm gonna need to have some people saying I listened to this and I liked it and I would actually like to know more. So,
all right.
So yeah, if you decide you're invested in it, then hey, I'll try to be cool with that. But yeah, I think Turk has definitely phoned it in on that one.
Yep.
All right. Well, we will catch you guys later.
Later.
Such disappointment in your voice.
Did you hear when I paused?
All right there, folks. That was Our Moms Think We're Funny. Let's give them a hand.